Okay, so it seems like there's been a little bit of an update to the Genshin Impact situation even further, and this is to do with the Risley voice actor. Now, this was a video that actually came out about 8 hours ago, so I am very, new to this, and I've literally just, watched through the entire video and had a little bit of a listen to what he had to say. And obviously Risley's voice actor has come into the Genshin scene a little bit later on, obviously in the Fontaine version, but it's still been around enough to know everything that is going on in the community. And also I'm pretty sure he does a lot of kind of voice acting courses and stuff like that over online, so he knows a lot about the voice acting industry in general. And honestly, this video has been pretty well received. You can see it's got 3.3 thousand likes but 500 dislikes. Now I can see where a lot of the dislikes are coming from, but I do feel like this video in general is very informative about the situation that is going on with a lot of the voice actor strikes without trying to get too opinionated or pretty much doing a Paimon and crashing out on TikTok. Like, let's be real, this is one of the only guys and this is one of the only responses that I've seen that is actually kind of like mature in a way. Because, all of these other responses I've seen are people crashing out on Twitter, on TikTok, on all these kind of areas and getting super mad at people and not actually explaining what's going on and instead just getting angry at them. And I've always said this from the start, and maybe I haven't said it on a video before, but, if Paimon's voice actor was to actually sit down and make a video and talk about everything that's going on and explain their situation, I feel like it would be understood much better. And I feel like this is something that Joe, the voice actor for Risley, has actually done, and, done a pretty good job at, explaining everything that's going on, different laws and different kind of nuances without going specifically too much into certain cases. He didn't have many opinions in there. He didn't really go in on anybody or something like that. He just kind of explained the situation how it was, explained how SAG-AFTRA works, how the strikes work, explained the fact that, even the Genshin Impact stuff that's going on at the moment isn't actually a union strike, and it's not like it's a non-union project, meaning that, they don't actually have to be striking against this. It's more of a collective kind of, not going to work kind of thing. And obviously this can create a lot of confusion, and a lot of people, can, go into work or not go into work. And obviously, yeah, it just creates a ton of people becoming confused about this whole situation. And he does kind of clear up a lot about what's to happen, but still, at the end of the day, it is very confusing for a lot of people. He says that, you're never really going to understand it as a whole, which again is totally true. I feel like, he's done a very good job at explaining what he knows about everything. He talks about, for example, why they're there, the Genshin and the SAG-AFTRA strikes, what are the Genshin Impact voice actors doing, California law, legal complications, should MiHoYo sign it? Obviously saying yes, they should sign it because it will help them out, especially whenever it comes to kind of AI protections and things. And obviously he explains as well, there's so many other reasons as to why they'd want to sign this, and there's so many reasons as to why MiHoYo should go union. That is the main thing that a lot of people want, is for MiHoYo or the companies surrounded by MiHoYo to go union rather than just AI protections, although AI protections is one of the things that is included in that. And he also goes through and talks about how California recently introduced a law which protects people against AI, but it can be quite hard as a non-union voice actor to actually battle against $1 billion company like MiHoYo, who, if you sue them for using your voice for AI or something like that, then, it's going to cost you a lot in terms of lawyer fees and things like that. So it's better off to be with a union who has the, resources to actually fight these kind of cases, which I can totally understand. And obviously he does a very good job at kind of explaining this. Now, obviously as well, he also talks about the fact that, he also talks about some other things about the union and, what some benefits and, I guess not benefits there could be. And he also talks about AI protections as well, and the fact that it is a little bit of a gray area at the moment, especially with the fact that although MiHoYo can't actually use AI voices, and this law prevents them from using AI voices in their products, it doesn't actually prevent them from making them. So they can, kind of, I guess, train models. That's the correct terminology. Train models based off of these voice actors. But it doesn't necessarily, they can't use them due to law, but it doesn't necessarily mean they can't train it just in case. And obviously, yeah, it's just it's a very, very weird situation. And obviously it's very confusing. I will leave a link down below to this entire video if you want to see the full kind of breadth of everything that he has to talk about. It is a very good video. And obviously it's 29 minutes long. So again, some of you might not want to sit through all of that, but that's okay. And obviously, yeah, he adds more information about the strikes. Now, yeah, there's a couple of issues that people had. And most of these comments in the top bit, is basically explaining the main issues that people had. It says it depends. It's like Hoyo will risk this, it depends, and or what SAG will do with this, it depends. So there was a lot in this video where he was like, okay, so what are they going to do with this? And then he went, it depends. And I think that isn't a very good response in the video. Obviously, yes, there's a ton of informative stuff. I don't want to say that this wasn't a good video. It was a good video, but yeah, there was a couple of kind of things where he like asked a question and then he went, it depends, and it's a little bit too broad for me. But obviously this just kind of proves to you the entire state of this situation in general. No one really knows what's going on, and even he adds in the video, like, even people that say to him, like even other voice actors or people in the kind of same kind of field or whatever, saying that they know what's going on, always tell him different things, and he hears different things from different people, which obviously means that practically no one knows what is really going on with this situation in general. And even for the voice actors, it can be quite confusing. And yeah, obviously people are saying, yeah, that's why a lot of people have problems with this. Almost all decisions regarding hiring and firing VAs are given to SAG without any real influence given to MiHoYo. Now, yeah, we can keep going as well. One of them saying, this video doesn't address one of the most important concerns of the community. What about international English VA situation? Which again, yeah, wasn't really explained in this video either. Obviously, a lot of people are very gung-ho and heavy about going after, you know, US voice actors and SAG-AFTRA. You know, all of this is based in the US. But what about, you know, people over in Britain or Australia or other English-speaking countries who also do voice acting work for games? Obviously, you know, we know that Wuthering Waves and companies like that use a lot of British-based companies. Now, obviously, yes, SAG-AFTRA and stuff won't affect that, but in terms of MiHoYo, and, you know, obviously, as they say here, this is a main criticism I fully agree on. A US union should not try to monopolize overseas international projects, which, again, I think is definitely true. And obviously, you know, a lot of people were very curious about this as well, but this wasn't explained in the video. So it would be really nice if we got a follow-up, maybe a follow-up video, you know, kind of talking about this stuff, because, again, it was very informative, don't get me wrong, but there was a lot of stuff that people didn't, you know, want. Obviously, this was one of the main points that people brought up as well, which I thought was something that was like going through my mind the entire time watching this video. Is I think the part of the problem is that people have been asking so many questions and don't get satisfactory answers. Kuching VA, Paimon VA have done a lot of misinformation as well and spread half-truths about this misinformation. Furthermore, with a condescending tweet from the union itself towards Hoyo, the union representatives are simply doing a terrible job of PR, which is definitely true. You know, I think that as well, you know, he was talking about the fact that this wasn't a union-based kind of strike and that this is just, you know, a group, a collective of people striking against HoYoverse. It's kind of weird the fact that SAG-AFTRA is getting so involved and, you know, kind of tweeting at Genshin Impact and stuff when it's not even a SAG-AFTRA, like, fully, you know, a fully SAG-AFTRA strike, which, again, maybe there could be a little bit of kind of context behind that and there's a reason why they're doing that. But again, that wasn't really explained in the video either. And obviously, yeah, there's other people as well saying the problem is that despite the fact there's a lot of misinformation on the internet right now, the main points being discussed are taken from SAG-AFTRA's publicly available websites. And when VAs are questioned about these points, they either don't answer or do so very vaguely. Or in another situation I want to add on is they do it very you know, angrily and irate, and it's, you know, kind of funny to see some of these people crash out over a question. Now, unfortunately, this video doesn't provide an answer that solves the problems, and some VAs aren't helpful and their childish attitude. Despite this, thank you for presenting a fairly neutral point, which again is definitely true. He did present a very neutral point in this video. They say it's not really an assumption when SAG-AFTRA encourages their union VAs to audition for non-union work to convince them to go union. It's kind of blatantly out there as one of the reasons they're doing this. I'm pro-union most of the time, but I don't like how SAG-AFTRA and how some of their actors are representing themselves, which was another bit of information that came out as well, was the fact that they were getting them to join non-union work in order to kind of turn them union. And I think what a lot of these people as well aren't, you know, very happy with is the fact that there was no mention of the voice actors' behavior or anything over online. You know, this person said, I'm gonna be honest, the only reason fans have turned so sharply against VAs is because of how they've acted on Twitter. Whether that anger was justified or not, when you have a community filled with nerds, and let me be frank, if you follow anime and video game voice actors on social media, you're probably at least a little bit of a nerd. It means that you're going to have a community filled with people who have a very strong leg jerk reactions to perceived bullying. if instead these voice actors ignored the new VAs and instead took to their own accounts and followers, like if the SAG agreement isn't signed, you'll be seeing a recast in my character in the future. I really do believe that most fans would have rallied behind them and started pushing for more strongly for unionization. They say instead most voice actors have remained dead silent on the matter, while a very small vocal minority have taken to calling those same fans idiots and stuff like that. So again, they're mainly talking about, you know, the problem with a lot of the other voice actors, for example, like the Paimon voice actor and Kuching's voice actor, going on Twitter and places like this, pretty much, you know, getting angry at people and saying that they know nothing and that they're stupid and that they're following, you know, a lot of YouTubers and things like that, which again, he does go into a little bit. He talks about social media and how this is kind of blown out way out proportion, which I do think is kind of true. But at the same time, I think it's very important to talk about the kind of other side of it, with, you know, the voice actors also adding fuel to the fire by attacking, you know, players, attacking creators, and attacking just random people online, which is just like not very on, especially for, you know, a professional voice actor. You know, you wouldn't think that these people on Twitter going after all of these people were professional voice actors. If I was to remove all of their name and all of their popularity and, you know, anything on their bio presenting that they are a voice actor, and it was just a random account on Twitter, you would say that was someone that was bullying a ton of people over on Twitter, which again, it would be true. And I think that, you know, this video doesn't go into that at all. And obviously I do understand why they're going for a more neutral point and just trying to explain the SAG-AFTRA strike itself, which honestly I do understand. But I think it is important, if you're going to mention YouTubers and mention the state of social media whenever it comes to this kind of stuff, you know, you kind of got to mention the other side of things, with the voice actors also, you know, kind of going after people, which again is just not very on. You know, people don't like that. This doesn't help out the cause a ton. Now, obviously, yes, as I said, you know, it's great that people are making kind of, you know, things like this. You know, they're making videos talking about this and making videos actually explaining what is going on to people, so that people have more of a context of what's going on. But as, you know, a lot of these comments are saying, a lot of these people are getting their information from the official SAG-AFTRA website. And if there's this much confusion, if this much, yeah, sorry, I messed it up totally. If there's this much confusion about, you know, what is actually going on and what's correct and what's wrong, I don't think it's entirely the YouTuber's fault. I feel like as well, another big part is, you know, SAG-AFTRA themselves presenting information on their website. I feel like sometimes it can be unclear, and, you know, more information comes out later on that, you know, kind of contradicts it, and it's like, okay, what's going on? Or even like, not even just other information, but also just voice actors. You know, SAG-AFTRA website will say one thing, and then, like, you know, Paimon's VA will go ahead and say another thing, and it's just like, okay, well, which one's right? Because again, you know, we're getting conflicting information, and this isn't conflicting information from some random, you know, drama YouTuber online. This is, you know, actual, you know, this is information from like an actual voice actor or an actual company. And, you know, they're not very good at presenting that information, which obviously can get pretty bad. Now, as I said, Joe's done a very good job at actually presenting this information pretty fairly and pretty easily and accessible. And it was very easy to understand. You know, it was very easy to understand what he was talking about. Obviously, as he says, you know, the situation is much bigger than, you know, a lot of people think, and it's very hard to explain all of it, especially even as a 30-minute video. But, you know, he does do a very good job at kind of explaining at least the basics of what is going on and just trying to get a little bit of an understanding for some people. And he says that yes, like MiHoYo and that does have a chance to replace, you know, some of the voice actors and things like that in the future, and that could be something that we could be seeing happening in the future. But again, that's not always the case. Sometimes, you know, they will just work with them. Some of them will just go back to work, you know, regularly. And I do have a video coming out tomorrow, which we will talk a little bit more about voice actors being replaced by MiHoYo, which again, I do really want to get into because it is something very interesting. And I saw an article kind of spreading a little bit of misinformation about this. But again, look out for that tomorrow, because again, there is a lot more to this situation, and I feel like this is still ongoing. And yeah, overall, I did like this video though. It's very good. So Joe, well done. I would really like to see another video kind of talking about all the stuff that I mentioned in this video. And obviously, yeah, we're gonna have to see if there's any kind of updates in the future about what is going on in general. But yeah, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this. Do you think that this was a good video, or do you think that, you know, maybe there could have been a little bit more? I do think it was very good. It was just there should be a couple of like other points added, but maybe that could be for something a little bit separate. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.